have been at the forefront of demonizing the party, blackmailing and insulting its leaders. But we don't mind that. You know, when a cat gives birth, there are real cats and then there are wild cats, the ones known as a miayu. Kill babies who are below the age of 5. So I advised him to vaccinate the baby against the 6 killer diseases.
No immunization was done, and so the 6 and most probably 7 killer diseases followed the youngest dominant opposition party in parliament.
If our comrade does the right thing to disassociate with corruption, apologize to the people of Uganda, and resign from that commission, then we shall be willing to come together, rehabilitate him.
The reggae continued.
I am the one who appointed him to the parliamentary commission.
As the turmoil lingers on, analysts are divided, giving their 2 cents to the leaders whose ego has since morphed and baptized a new name: Irreconcilable Differences.
This is going to be the start process of its rupture.
Now, with this kind of approach, it just confirms.
But how irreconcilable are these? Is it an issue of accountability or sheer politics that is threatening to tear the Red House apart? This is The Frontline. NBS Frontline.
A very good evening and welcome to this edition of The Frontline on NBS TV. My name is Charles Mwangu Shampagi. Much of the chaos in opposition political parties, actually in political parties broadly, has been running for some time now. The question is, how do the parties walk out of this? Where does this leave them? With political parties, especially those represented in parliament, in so much turmoil internally, can they demand accountability? Can they hold government to account? Can they give direction to where the country is supposed to be moving? Those and other issues we'll be discussing on The Frontline tonight, and I have a big panel. Let me start at the extreme end. Mr. George Musisi is a lawyer and an activist. Very nice to have you, sir.
Pleasure to be here once again. Greetings to the viewers and happy to be here with these colleagues.
Ofono Opondo, Executive Director at the Uganda Media Center. Very nice to have you, sir, and the Frontliner.
Thank you, Charles. Good to have you.
Samuel Odonga Oto, he says now he's a freelance, former member of parliament for Aru County. He says he doesn't belong to a political party at the moment. Very nice to have you.
Nice having you, and good evening, viewers.
Senior citizen, Dr. Maria Koburunga Matembe. Doesn't need more introduction. Very nice to have you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Good evening, viewers.
And from Kira Municipality, Shadow Minister for Finance. He says we don't mention the political party now.
You have said there is turmoil in political parties, so why do you have to mention? And Odongo Oto has told you that he's a freelancer.
Mm.
So, yeah,
so there are more freelancers. More freelancers.
We face the same situation.
Ibrahim Semo Jonganda, and this is The Frontline tonight. Let me start at the extreme end with George Musisi. Looking in from outside, I know you have represented many activists, especially in the National Unity Platform, facing different court challenges. Looking in from the outside, what does the chaos, the turmoil within these political parties mean, not just for now, but the direction they are able to give the country, and especially the question of holding government accountable? A lot of the debate has been going on some of what activists have been doing online. But this internal turmoil within political parties, what does it mean and what can it do? I mean, how far can it take?
Of course, internal contradictions in any institutions would ordinarily be healthy, but sometimes there are other factors which push the internal contradictions to boil over, and in some cases we have even seen some parties split up, like I think lastly the FDC that we've had. When these internal contradictions arise, the question is what is the cause? we should remember that we still have very young institutions, even including political parties. We still have a hangover of the individual merit system where people think that they cannot subject themselves sometimes to the institution, which is the party. And thirdly, sometimes the reasons why people coalesce, it's not the vision of the party or around any idea, but sometimes as a transition vehicle to another stage. So you find that the glue that holds some of these people together is limited. And in case of any contradiction, this person is always very keen to walk away. And of course, then the other issue that we can't run away from, like we've seen from the FDC, is the external hand. The external hand that is always hovering all over these parties to fish. But before we blame the external hand, we have to look at the players themselves. Because
I'm glad you raised the example of what has been happening in FDC and the National Unity Platform.
Yes.
At the center of the turmoil within the Forum for Democratic Change is the allegations that
money exchanged hands from a certain source. Yes.
At the center of the latest disagreements within the National Unity Platform,
yes,
you've just seen the comments from the principal,
yes,
Robert Sentamu Kyagulanyi, and Commission of Parliament, former leader of opposition. It's also somehow anchors a bit on money. If that is the source, if that seems to be the point at which the political parties are getting split, then how do they hold, one, internally, how do they hold each other accountable? Inter-party, how do they hold each other accountable? And then how do they extend that to the government, the party in power?
Inter-party might be hard because, as you can see, it's very hard for parties to treat themselves as peers because of the differences in standing on the political parties. For a very long time, we had FDC as the strongest opposition party. Now imagine need of Joseph Kabuleta telling FDC that this is how we do things. They will certainly look. So, but within the parties, there should be institutions, there should be the discipline to whip the road, no matter where the bucket falls. Of course, in the case of FDC, the people who were being accused, just like in UPC, the people who were being accused had the strongest helm of the party, and of course, the ones who were claiming innocence were edged out, like Ibrahim fears to associate himself with FDC, because he was accusing the people at the helm now. That means that internally, even when they went through what the Constitution says, the Elders' Council, which later on was found to be, as per the other party, compromised, the internal institutions couldn't hold the people accountable. And that's what I said earlier, that sometimes people tend to be bigger than the party, that even either the people who are being accused or those who are accusing, that the internal institutions cannot whip whoever is, and then they go ahead. So that's why it's always very hard. And of course, we're talking about very young parties, even those which are 20 years old are very young for them to be tested. NRM has not been tested so much. The last time it had some bit of contradictions. We know that they always have that stronger whip that glues them online, that they gravitate around the fist. So it's always easier. But these ones, where there is no fist, the others will always walk away.
Let me come to you. The party in power ideally should hold its government in check. The NRM hasn't absolved itself of this duty effectively.
Are you saying the NRM hasn't held itself?
It hasn't held its government in proper check.
The NRM would have disintegrated both the party and the government. The fact that NRM hasn't disintegrated and the government hasn't disintegrated, it means there's a level of effective checking and balancing. You may not be happy with the different trends, but there is a check. As we all know, for example, our constitution does not provide, for instance, for the NRM sake, the NRM NEC, like in other jurisdictions, that, for example, in order for the president to appoint a cabinet, there is no legal requirement that should table this for approval in the SEC or NEC. save for the leadership in committees of parliament. That's the only area where the party plays a hand. The rest, it is simply the president's will. And so in that respect, therefore, I concur with my colleague that if you don't have political party institutional structure that is strong, that is tested, there is no way you expect them to put their feet and say, we have found this minister wanting, and therefore we command, we direct you to remove him or remove her, like it happens in South Africa, like it happens in Tanzania. Now, in spite of the fact that the NRM says CCM and ANC are fraternal parties, you know, we have visited, we have paid many visits to those countries,
plus,
those parties.
Plus the communist part of
Yes.
China.
Unfortunately, it seems we have not learned very useful lessons on how to whip our government system. But let me go to the real thing in my view. What brings people together to form a political party? There are different interests. And I will recast you to the late Major General Pecos Kutesa's book, Why They Found Themselves in the Bush. He says there, in his view, there were 5 tendencies. There were people who were running from the law, who went to the bush and in the hope that they were dodging the law, and they hoped that maybe the old government would go and they come back. Then he said there were those who were just adventurous, young people, say, I want to test how the gun is. Then he said there were those who thought that when they got the bush and come back, they will come back to things, into things. And you have seen people have come into things. They enter parliament and they get into things. They came from the bush and they got into things. And then he said there were those who were patriots, who were aggrieved by the governance, the way the country was managed. And in his view, those were few. But somehow they have managed to steer the revolution, the liberation war for 5 years. They have managed, in my view, to steer the country to a large extent for the last 48 years. Are they still in charge on the central axis? The jury is out there, but in my assessment, they are losing control. And so when you see many of these things, I think it is a pointer that that crop of the patriots
Is losing control.
Is losing control of the NRM, is also losing the control of the state. Because otherwise, all these things happening.
What would you recommend? What needs to be done to regain that control? And what is the risk to the country?
Short of another revolution, probably even violent, I don't see that through the democracy we are building, of liberalism, where people tolerate wrong because the people who are committing wrongs are their relatives or their friends. You have seen what we are going through today in Parliament. You ask yourself, how come, if NRM people are complicit because the leadership being accused is theirs, where is the opposition? Where is the entire opposition? Do you see the opposition saying, no, you are our leaders in Parliament, even if these accusations are not yet verified, we are asking you to come in the open and explain. And so they are allowing the leadership in Parliament to keep silence in the hope that, as usual, we shall talk and talk.
And then it will pass.
And it will pass.
Or maybe they are so much lost in their own internal squabbles.
I don't think so. The people who are lost in the internal squabbles, for example, with this issue, is NUP. Where is the FDC? At least one faction of FDC, which is in control. The faction which is in Najana Nkumbi is in control of the party. They are not much in. So where are they? How about the official opposition, which is stable in Parliament? At least there's no squabbles. Nobody is challenging the leadership of the leader of opposition in parliament. Nobody is challenging the leadership of the shadow cabinet, at least not in the parliament. So there should be no reason.
I had just before as we're opening the show,
Yes.
Dr. Matembeya was asking which opposition.
Well, there are people who are opposed to this government in parliament and outside parliament. Do you hear them raising pertinent issues? Because even if the allegations were false, you would expect a normal opposition in parliament. and
So
outside.
let me come to you.
Yeah, to call our leaders to come and make good against these accusations. So I want to think that people are being diverted by personal interests.
Okay.
And so that is impacting greatly on how political organizations and indeed other civic organizations are being run. Look at the churches. Look at the churches, whether the established ones, the Catholics or the Protestant ones, look at the born again, because people there are motivated by personal interest, immediate personal interest, and therefore they are unable to hold a priest to account. They are unable to hold a headmaster. We are unable to hold a chairman of a PTA of a school to account.
The House of Bishops just announced yesterday a new bishop for Luero Diocese, and that emerged because the people of Luero protested against the one who had been elected to take over that. And they said it wouldn't happen. They also announced a new bishop for North Ankole Diocese also yesterday. The House of Bishops was announcing those yesterday because it appears like Christians are able somehow, especially for traditional churches, to raise their voice on some of these critical issues. But let me come to Odonga Otto.
I participated
Yes.
in the issues of the current bishop of Bukit Diocese, Egesa. I'm not a very active member of that church, but when they had elected, the House of Bishops had elected somebody, they were considering somebody, and then a Christian in Bukit tipped me and Tango Odoi. And when we raised it, although we are not active members of the church, when we raised it, the House of Bishops ran quickly. They said, those two are going to roll us in mud. And they dumped the person they had picked and then had to make a new
So
search.
in Bukedi, in Luero, in other places?
So it was not the church members, actually, who the church members feared to raise the matter.
What is the risk you're executing a political mission, not a religious mission?
It's not political, but I sided with the cause of the Christians who were fearful.
Odonga Otto, as a young man just out of university, you joined a political party that sent you to parliament. There was a history of political parties. Now you describe yourself as freelance. You're not allied to any political party, you're not in parliament, you've been speaking. You're watching the chaos and you've been commenting about the chaos in the different political parties. Part of it pushed you out of your own political party. It hasn't allowed you to join another political party. What does this mean for the country and the future of political parties or pluralism?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here to meet my good friend Semuju. And to get to the question, me and Semuju, we are in a different league. If we were two in parliament, the institution would be different, but this is my senior. Yeah. Most of my friends are to the left. But to answer your question, I wrote a thesis when I was being awarded a master's in political philosophy. And my thinking is that liberal democracy is not tenable in Africa. This liberal democracy where one person, one vote, universal adult suffrage, and I managed to prove it. So we are in a stage of evolution politically that may take us another 400 years. And we may never attain liberal democracy because we are modifying it. We are not making it work the way it is designed to work. And for liberal democracy to survive, there has to be well-defined classes in that society. There has to be class struggles, and class struggles develop ideologies. You see, like in the US, there are those who want gun control, and then there is another group that wants freedom to access guns, so they form ideologies. Now, if we come to the political scenario in Uganda, you ask ourselves, why are you in opposition? Why are you in government? Why is Ufondo Pano in government? Why is Ssemujju in opposition? So you'll find that the factors that cluster us together as political parties are various. Now, in relation to the Ugandan scenario, I think the first area I cry foul is what I would call the commoditization of democracy, where you have to give groceries, soap, sugar, salt to be elected. And then the second one is where you either have to belong to the ruling party to make it very easily to the national parliament, or you be in areas that are predominantly opposition to also make it to the national parliament. So the future of pluralism and multipartism in the Ugandan context, first from the NRM side, I am very disappointed. I'm very disappointed that the NRM does not have the capacity to fight corruption. This is my biggest disappointment. They don't have capacity. I used to think that a general is a general, but I've seen a situation in the last parliament where the president proposed a salary and remuneration board, and the parliament rejected and he walked away. So we need an iron hand that can ensure that certain things can pass through parliament.
Many people would be surprised that you're surprised.
Pardon?
There are many people who would be surprised that you say you're surprised.
No, because now
I mean, with your experience in parliament for the many terms that you served, and you walked out of parliament not very long ago, why would you be surprised today? Is this emerging just as something new?
You see, the moment the democracy evolves out of a struggle, an armed struggle, the first technique of any gorilla on this planet, like General Museveni, is to attract enemies. They will always they will make every effort to attract the opposition. Actually, the opposition is President Museveni's dream as of now. Those who are in the movement, as long as you are loyal, you are kept there. So now, when we have a revolution that came out of a gun and has turned into democracy, running the country, then the first question would be loyalty. I have seen, Charles, people doing wrong things and putting on yellow shirts. People stealing state money and putting on a shirt with the president's poster, and they are not touched. So this hurts to the marrow. This hurts to the marrow. Now, for a young party like NUP, like FDC, about 15 years, where I was there for 15 years, the challenge is also still the same approach of a gorilla trying to reach out to the political parties and ensure that even inside NUP, they have some NRM loyalties. Even inside FDC, they have some NRM loyalties. So even the problems inside the opposition parties are being caused by
the party in power,
by the gorilla approach of attracting enemies. So we are going to see continually weakened institutions, and the institutions, the checks totally don't work. For example, Ssemujju would agree with me, the Auditor General is an officer of Parliament.
True.
So who is to audit Parliament? The IGG expects money from Parliament.
An office of Parliament as well.
Who is to audit Parliament? So we have a situation where some institutions are very powerful, some individuals are more powerful than the institution, and you cannot touch them.
You wrote a thesis, which you and I did discuss your thesis on the other show that I host, which is NBS Face Off, and you're raising it again. Can we continue reading from the Book of Lamentations? What new ideas, for example, are you generating that the political parties being formed today could have learned from to work differently?
Yeah, you see, that is why they say in the African context, we have what they call consensus democracy. Why would you waste time for people to go on a ballot paper to secretly vote for Ssemujju, and yet the previous night they were marching and telling people publicly that they will vote for Ssemujju? It means the system is perverted. So we need to actually, for minds that are not very close, I would even say a country like Uganda, we probably need to get back to the individual merit system. Because the institutions, they are individuals who are more powerful than the institution. For example, no one in the NRM can bring President Museveni to order. No one, not even Ufondo Pando. The same scenario we are having. It's very difficult to bring Bobby Wine to order. The same scenario we are having in FDC. The other day I was attending the burial of Cecilia Ogwal, rest in peace, in Oyam, and I asked Amuriat, where is Besigye? Are we expecting him here? And he told me what I cannot say on TV. So we have political parties that are centered around individuals. And so the institutions are also being centered around individuals. And the individuals are very powerful. And I can challenge my friend Fondo Pondo over coffee. Where we are now, no one has the capacity to check parliament. Not even the president. The president does not even have capacity to check parliament. So we have a situation as a country that we don't know what to do with. As I was driving here, I was thinking that probably when I go back to Europe, I will start a campaign for travel ban. And we have some of these people arrested, like the Minister of Guinea. You land anywhere in Europe, handcuffs. Because there's nowhere we can run. We cannot run to IGG, we cannot run to God, we cannot run to General Museveni, we cannot run to Auditor General. So we may have to start campaigning.
You can't run to God.
For travel ban. Have you seen General Otafire going anywhere? The last time I heard he was in Burundi. He loiters in Burundi, Rwanda, Kenya. Have you seen him in Europe?
You want to run to Paris, you want to run to London and run to Washington?
Yeah, some of these characters, we may have to just ensure they're arrested from wherever they show us, because it's too much.
Why don't you conduct a citizen's arrest in Kampala or in Gulu?
Pardon? My friend. So
let me get some more into this.
So let them be aware. One of these days you'll hear some of them have been picked from wherever they are. This one I can talk with authority.
You describe yourself as a man in transition. You don't want to be tied to a particular political formation at the moment. This case within political parties, you sit in parliament. There are many questions. Sometimes it actually sounds like it sounds almost funny that a committee of parliament, with what has been going on over the last week, would even be summoning somebody to interrogate them over allegations of corruption, over allegations of bad governance or poor accountability. But this is emanating from the political parties where you guys are coming from. You can't, you're embroiled in your own internal turmoil that you can't stand up in parliament and
we are where we are because someone has been working so hard to make sure we go there. Let me start with the parliament. Fondo Pondo is disappointed that the opposition is doing nothing. And he has every reason to do so. The current administrators in parliament, when you compare to Wapakabulo and others, were they the best that you wanted to serve the country with? Didn't you work so hard to ensure that they win? I contested for parliament, to be a speaker of parliament. Did you ever support me or Fondo Pondo? Because you see, you keep blaming members of parliament, and especially the opposition, for crimes that you have yourselves committed. How did we end up here? Did we just fall from heaven? In the military, in the police, everywhere, in the judiciary? Because you are blaming parliament. See what is happening in the judiciary. Each time I have a case before judges, I don't know whether I should even go and attend the court. The other day we were in Masaka for Honorable Segirinya's and Honorable Arani's bail application. The judge, the one who first granted them bail, said, on their own, even on their own accord, I can grant them bail. The second judge said, these are very influential people, they can interfere with the investigation. When Museveni said they can get out, the same court now said now they can get out. They had been denied bail because they will interfere with investigation. When Museveni was done with them, now the court forgot that they can interfere with investigation. So you have overrun the court. You have overrun parliament, and now you cry as if you're a victim. These things you've done deliberately, that you kill institutions, you've killed the court, you've killed political parties, you've killed parliament. Fondo Pondo, you should be the last person to say anything. You should be the last person. Because these things you have systematically done them. Your own party can't sit. The other day I saw Haji Moses Chigongo with the second members. They sat at Musa Court. He said, okay, we are now postponing the NRM roadmap. In the evening, Museveni said, I'm launching it tomorrow. And Chigongo was the first to arrive to come and launch a program he had the previous night postponed. Now they went to State House. They said, okay, now we resolve, we will always be sitting here. What did that mean? No more meetings at Musa Court. You can't see, this thing is mine. Who told you even to convene a meeting? So where you will be blind. I've today written an article in Monday, and I said, you see, you can quarrel with Anita Mong, like Ofonopono is doing these days. I think he doesn't do any other work. On all the platforms, the first thing he does to put there all the social media leakages is the one who is alerting me. Have you read this one? Have you read this one? That's the only job he's doing now. So you can quarrel with Anita Mong. Was the situation better when you had Kadaga there? She was running an 80 billion social corporate responsibility fund, personally. At one time, she had even said, I now want a helicopter. It had been put in the budget. So we are where we are because Mr. Museveni wants to be in power at gunpoint. So political parties, like any other institutions, us Muslims, every day we are quarreling. After Mbabaji stealing our money. I remember the statement the Honorable Miriam Matembe made in Chankwanzi in 2003 when they had their movement conference. If she doesn't remember, I can remind her now. She said, when I am chasing corrupt people, they run it to you. And she gave the example at that time of the chairman of Rakai. So the people she was chasing, and I want to thank her, not many people will say that before Museveni, that everybody I am chasing for stealing money runs to you and you are the one defending them.
And eventually he became a member of parliament. You remember that co-man?
Yeah, but at least you spoke and told him that I chase people who are suspected of corruption. They run to you, you are the defender. So Ofonopondo, who works with Museveni, on a show where they are going to discuss corruption, you should even stay away and then you ask, what are they saying? But to come here and pretend that you're also fighting corruption, this is where we are now, that Ofonopondo is speaking about corruption. So political parties have systematically, the religious leaders have been systematically, traditional institutions have been systematically decimated to benefit one person who must conquer Uganda, civil society.
How powerful is that single individual?
Look at civil
that in a population of 45 million people, for now 38 years,
all dictators,
no one can stand up.
All dictators, why didn't you ask the same questions about Gaddafi? For 43 years, he had subdued everybody. Bashir, until the population was able to rise up. Mubarak for 38 years. Dictators, go back to history, from Congo to Malawi to Zambia, wherever they have existed. They exhibit the same conduct. In the parliament where we are now, I don't want to, it is not Anita Among who has captured the parliament. In fact, it is Museveni who has captured the parliament. Anita Among is just an agent of Museveni.
At what stage do, for example, political parties, individual institutions, take responsibility for their own failures?
As individuals, yes. I don't want to say we are faultless. We are also weak. When it comes to parliament, you need to understand how parliament works. All of us who are members of parliament, from the day you are sworn in as an MP, you are being sworn in to take on the public. Because the first thing that they do immediately to reach parliament is provision of money to go and buy a vehicle. So for the next 2 weeks, you have a debate with the public. They have no ambulances, they have no this. And for you, Guride, you are taking money to buy a car, 200 million shilling.
And we never see you disagreeing.
Exactly, that's the point.
All of you
that's
agree
the point.
On that point.
I brought a motion in parliament and I said we should go for a zero fleet because me, I don't want to be discussing symptoms. Because Ofonopondo has a vehicle here. Even when he goes for private work, he goes with it. My proposal to parliament, which the Minister of Public Service captured and Tunga and he never returned, was that we go for a zero fleet. You don't provide a vehicle except to the president and the speaker and chief justice, maybe about 5-10 people. The NRM people fought me. In fact, at that day, I was a campaign against me. So the ritual that we do, we go through hell to do the ritual that we do there. That parliament, there was a campaign against me for proposing that MP shouldn't get vehicles. I have said, and I want to repeat here, because there are two things that NRM now works so hard to achieve. First, they want to make everybody look like them. Because if you begin to look like them, you have no more authority to say they should get out of power. So they will work day and night to make sure they corrupt everybody. Even if they don't, at least they will accuse you. Because at least before the public, you must look like the same. I mean, you're talking about 7 UMPs. You just increased your salary. You've given yourself a vehicle. You are giving yourself this. And Ofono is very good at that. So once everybody has started looking like M7, that's why Odongo Toi is saying, maybe we go back to individual merit? No. He said we can't go to court, we can't go to IGG, we can't go to God. I don't know where Odongo Toi wants to go.
He said he wants to run to London.
It has been a campaign that has brought us where we are.
He wants to run to 10 Downing Street.
Kill civil society, kill religious institutions, kill traditional institutions, kill parliament, kill judiciary, political parties. And once that has been achieved, now you can install your son when you are tired. That's where we are as a country.
Dr. Matembe, let me come to you. You did pose a question to the panel here, just as we're beginning. You said, do we even have political parties? What did you mean?
You see, you are asking now that there is confusion in the parties, now where are we going, for me, when I say we don't have, I should say, credible, effective parties that are capable of running a country as expected of liberal democracy, as you were saying. You people, you talk of NRM as a party. I don't see it as a party. This is a team under one person like this. We are now in a military dictatorship where the media want us to come and talk, and I've been refusing to come, but people insist. Because for me, many times I cry for Uganda, because when President Museveni came here, when I embraced the movement, the other one where we worked, I had this energy, I had this hope, I have explained this matter here on this program, that now that these people have come, the educated people, the people who were human, that they are here. When I embraced, I knew never again are we going back to where we had come from. Because I had experienced I had experienced Obote too, I had experienced the Mwanga's government and how we suffered. And I said never again. And I said, by the way, this business of criticizing and staying here, now that these young people now have come in, what have I done? I must go in there and also play a part to deliver this nation and move it forward. So that is the enthusiasm, the energy, the everything. And my frustration was when President decided to remove that term limit. Because the hope of changing, at least building and beginning to move in Africa without the term limit, without presidential term limit, it could not be there, and it hasn't been there. The peaceful changeover, handover of government from one individual to another. And by that time, I reached that frustration. I had seen President Museveni, who came here, we all admired, we all embraced, and she was speaking all the problems of Africa and Uganda, he had identified them. So I said, yeah, this person who can identify these problems, as we know, and he's ready to fight them, well, this is the right person. And down the road, the fellow I think, I want to conclude that as he went to the bush, for him, he knew what he wanted. I can tell you, President Museveni knows what he wants within 50 years to come. So for him, he knew what he wanted, and for us, we didn't know. We thought he was coming to deliver Uganda, and we moved forward and we progressed. But for him, he had his internal.
How did he succeed in blinding all of you?
He didn't blind people. Let me tell you. You are also blinded, weren't you there, if it is blinding? If somebody comes and he's saying what you want, like me when I read the 10-point program, I said, oh, wonderful. Because I saw it as all along, this is what I would have wanted. And therefore, what did I do first thing? Read 10-point program, believed in it, resolved to practice it, and resolved to go around and mobilize all Ugandans to embrace the 10-point program because it was going to lead us to where we would go. This is, and bearing in mind where we were coming from, it was like we have got a savior coming down from the ditch. The good thing is for me, if I had been deceived, you said, how did we get deceived? What?
You get blinded.
If I had been blinded, at least I was blinded for a distance. I started seeing, things not becoming what I had expected. And that's when I stood up and said, now, this one now, it should not be done.
So we're talking about 2003, when you see the light and say, this is not where we're going.
I had, don't think we had not, have you read my book?
Yes, I have.
The Struggle for Freedom and Democracy Betrayed. It just didn't happen just like that. We were seeing, we were talking, we go there and discuss and talk. For instance, I was Minister for Ethics and Integrity. Hasn't he told you that I told that man on that day everything? I told him, even you deceived us, you said this, and now this, and all this happening like this, and this is that, and now for you, you can't continue. If you continue, we are going back in reverse. And he said, get out of here. And I got out of there.
That was 21 years ago.
Yes, and I'm glad that I saw. And when I was so, like you are asking, how were you blinded? Everybody who departed from Museveni, because along the path, many people were departing. Whenever they departed with him, they would be so angry, so angry. And I was saying, but why are these people so angry? So when I told him no term limit, and he said, and we parted company. We had a long chat discussion sometime there at home until I told him, you and I cannot move together anymore. And by the time he reshuffled his cabinet, we had said, you and I, we cannot move together anymore. But then I started getting angry. Do you know why I got angry? I said, how on earth can I be made into a fool? How can I be deceived and be made like a fool? That's what angered me. But down the road, I said, no, I'm not going to be so angry, because for me, I gained. Because I had lived with a childhood dream, longing to get a platform where I would fight for gender equality and women's empowerment.
It's Women's Day tomorrow.
And I got that platform. I even thank him. I always say, and he knows, I say, well, we can depart on all things, but the fact that he brought an environment and said, women, where are you? And I rose up. By that time we parted company, what hadn't I achieved in terms of gender equality and women's empowerment?
Let me take a few messages and then a break. Joseph Nwabin is watching us and says, my question is, for how long will the struggle against this monster and grotesque called corruption be reduced to mere contradiction? To me, what you're calling contradiction is a struggle between those that are against corruption and those that are for corruption. Specifically on the issue of Kyagulanyi Mpuuga, I want to pay tribute to Bobi Wine for his courage. determination, and boldness against this grotesque called corruption. There is no way any sane and well-meaning Ugandan who is tired of corruption can condemn Bobby Wine for condemning Mpuga for the latter's theft.
That's true.
This is the boldness and courage we have been lacking in the country. What Mpuga and his group did was glaringly illegal, irregular, and has no basis in law, and Mpuga, being a lawyer, should be aware of this, but he chooses to play victim. You can have your bias against Chagulanyi for some reasons, but he's right on this.
I entirely agree with that man who has written that.
Sammy is watching us from Fort Portal and says, I agree with Semuju. We no longer have independent institutions. We have stars who are running the football team, no team cohesion. One star is bigger than a football team. That's Museveni. All political parties are driven stars, no ideology, only individuals running the show. Sammy in Fort Portal. I have another message here I'll take before we take a break. Yes, let me take from Robert Bwango Rwakasenyi, who says, watching from Fort Portal City, looking at our usual old opposition parties that used to be called the government in waiting, including UPC of the late Milton Obote, the DP of the late Kawanga Semogerere, PPP of Bidandi Sali. Their leaders were focused on regime change. But the current leaders of various opposition parties, including FDC, NUP, current UPC party, their leaders are practicing hypocrisy, greed, money-minded, self-centered, and many are just comedians. So to me, it will be very difficult for any opposition party to remove Museveni in the ballot box. May they wait for Muhoozi in 2031. That's Robert Bwango Rwakasenyi. I have another message from James Alemi, an ardent follower. He says, for the first time in 3 weeks, we have a gender-balanced panel. Can OO tell us the last time he attended church? You were resolving issues in church. When was the last time you attended church? Alemi wants to know. Another viewer here, Chakulaga Michael, says 11th Parliament is so corrupt, much of taxpayers' money is being wasted on useless people. I wish that money was given to our school-going sisters in Kamuli to buy sanitary pads since Mr. Museveni failed to fulfill his promises. Let the Ofono Pondos remind his boss, YK Museveni, of that promise. Chakulaga Michael, I think in Kayunga somewhere. Let me take those for now. We'll pick this up after a very short commercial break.
NBS Frontline.
Are you having headache, sore throat, muscle pain, toothache, or fever? Then use Curamo Plus. Curamo Plus is strong on pain and gentle on stomach. It's available in all drug shops countrywide. It's not recommended for children under the age of 12 years. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Mr. Baby, we're coming back to give them the old school and new school.
She's my lady. I would love to settle down with somebody. We are working on it.
I don't see where even you got this love that you're writing about except lying to this crowd.
Yo, what's up? My name is Benon and this is Vampos.
And this is our Taskamar conversation.
What is our promise to you? The responsibility that we have upheld for the last decade? The commitment to you has always been to bring you the stories that matter to you, the stories behind the headlines. At Live at 9, we bring you in-depth analysis and a 360-degree perspective to every story. We make sure that we are the voice to the voiceless. In a world where truth and facts have become hard to detect, we remain true to our dedication to bring you the unbiased and varnished, balanced and untainted truth behind every story. From breaking news to probing investigations and in-studio interviews, we keep you informed of the pulse of Uganda and the world.
Malaria is estimated to impair up to 60% of children's learning ability. So, malaria prevention and control help improve our children's living, ensure children sleep under a mosquito net every day. This message is brought to you by
Attention all farmers in Uganda. Introducing Gagawala, the groundbreaking hybrid maize seeds from Equator Seeds Limited. You'll reap the benefits of drought tolerance, ensuring your crops thrive even in challenging conditions. These high-yielding seeds boast an impressive yield of 2.5 to 3.5 tons per acre if boosted with fertilizers. Place your orders now while stocks last with Gagawala maize seeds. Available in all agro shops countrywide, or call 0392 568 937. Our team of experts is always available to handle your inquiries. We believe in quality seeds for a better living.
Raise your glass to lipstick, high heels, and finesse. Make a toast to resilience, strength, and sophistication. Come fill your glass, because breaking barriers tastes better together. She walks because her life is less talk and more walk.
NBS Frontline.
Still watching the Frontline on NBS TV, and we're looking at the turmoil within political parties and how that impacts their effectiveness as governments in waiting. Somebody put it that way. As governments in waiting, how can they hold internally, how can they hold each other accountable? Inter-party, can they hold other parties accountable? Can they actually coalesce on some meaningful thing? And beyond that, can they hold government accountable? Emmanuel Nahamia says, what is killing opposition political parties is greed for money. Museveni is here to stay because the opposition is so weak. Even the people we call opposition are not. The fact is there is no opposition in Uganda. Emmanuel is watching us from Makerere University. Dr. Jude Kagoro is watching us from Bremen City in Germany and says, a simple question for Semuju. What is Semuju's stand on the Speaker's grand misuse of public money? He is usually eloquent, but he seems not to be himself since the Parliament exhibition kicked off. Dr. Jude Kagoro in Bremen City, Germany. I have a message here from, I have a message here from Enoch Fred Kahwa, says the Parliament of Uganda needs to be dissolved and the President inclusive before this financial year ends. And we're going to fresh elections. The corruption in Uganda makes you feel to go into exile. Today's leaders have no mercy at fellow Ugandans. They're eating Ugandans as if the world is ending tomorrow. Fred Enoch Kawa, who is watching us from Kienjojo. I have another message. Let me see. I have few other messages I'd like to pick before we take a break. Before we come back to the discussion. Laban Muhawe says, politics is a game of adding on. So Museveni is right to disorganize you and add you on. Ndugunganda from Laban Kitagata Shema.
He's silly.
So someone here says, James Bond is watching us from Fort Portal, says, my humble request from my senior OO, please tell us, how can a government with all equipped institutions fail to combat corruption? How would you convince Ugandans that it is not the government which is embracing corruption if it can't fight it? James Bond in Fort Portal. Ruben says, who is this? Chaguranye is a dictator than Museveni. What criteria did he use to drive the party? I would like to request Honorable Matembe to read NUP's constitution and then enlighten the Ugandans as well. I have never dreamt that Chaguranye, that's how he has written it, can become integrity person. For sure, doesn't understand what democracy is. This is Kurvakanya. Somebody sent this message called Kurvakanya. Let me see. This is it. Dr. Matembe, I want to come back to you. I want to go back on your position in these political parties. Yes. I mean, some of them were formed when you were here. You had seen the old ones.
I have always come here, except that we want to debate. I have always told you that in this country, I even said it now, we don't have political parties. What you need to know is parties are made by people. Now, what we have in Uganda right now, which I have emphasized, which affects these political parties and all leaders in this country, is that we have a leadership in whichever party they are, which is self-centered and power-oriented, rather than a leadership which is people-centered and service-oriented. So when you have a leadership which is interested in getting the power to use it to serve the people, then that leadership is the one which is able to build those institutions which it will use to realize its objective. Now, currently in this country where we are, beginning with President Museveni, who wants to be a life president. And because he wants to be a life president, he makes sure that anybody who is to oppose his life presidency must be dealt with. Some of them, you know how they deal with them, and some of them disappears, and some of them are not here, and some. But the rest, the majority, he makes sure he will buy them, he will take them over. And the good thing about President Museveni, I don't know whether I should equate him with the word of God. The word of God says that God does not do something without revealing it to his servants. Now, President Museveni reveals, in a way I don't know why, what he wants to do. You know, one time when he was in Ntungamo, after 11 elections in 2011, is it when he said, now I'm going to finish all the opposition. He said, I'm going to finish them. And he started finishing them. I even went on TV and said, what do you want? Do you want to kill people? What do you want? I questioned it. Now, I think, is it the last elections, when he was in Masindi Obahoima, me, I always see him on my TV. He told us that for him, I've forgotten the words he used, but he was saying that for him, don't joke with me. I don't go wah, 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 wah. And that's what he was saying. Me, I go quietly. I'm very, Linda, I finish this, then you'll ask me. Because this was him saying, I'm very tactful, I work underground, I don't do like them, and I will finish them like you finish Sumbusa. Don't you remember when he said it? I was listening to him, but the words he used I have forgotten. But he was saying that for him, I'm very tactful, I'm very clever, I don't joke with me, I don't go wah, 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 like those who shout, and down the road, I will just eat them like Sumbusa and finish them. He said that. And after saying that, now, show me, when it came to what? FDC, buying them. And I told you that our leaders are self-centered and power-oriented. So they are ready also to be bought, so they were bought. Now come to this Mpuga. Me, I don't know Ugandans. I think, like this young man who said Kyagulanyi should not say anything. Mpuga, let me tell you, Mpuga, I was respecting Mpuga. These people of UNUP were suspecting, saying this Mpuga is going behind our backs, is doing something, relating, is connecting with the government. And you know, I talked to these young people. I was telling them, no, you people, you need to mature. Opposition does not mean fighting in your country. Opposition leaders can work with the government for the sake of Uganda. If there is a conflict, they can talk together. The leader of opposition talks to the government, and they see how they sort it out. I was urging and trying to counsel them. They said, but for you, Maria, you know, you trust too much. I said, but this man is doing a good job. Now, when they removed him, when they asked me, I even talked, I said, well, he was doing well. Now that they've removed him, I would ask him to nurture and help
His successor.
his successor to make sure that their party moves forward. Now, down the road, Mpuga getting 500 millions as a Kasimo, a reward. I want to ask. This was a leader of opposition who has been opposing government for the 2 years. Is it 2 years?
2.5 years.
Now, me, Miriam Matembe, I opposed the removal of term limit. Opposed it once even, not many times. I opposed it once. They threw me out into the garbage. Let me tell you, they never even made a cup of tea to say, Honorable, goodbye, you have done some work of integrity. No, for me, no nothing, no pension, no, what do you call it?
Gratuity.
Gratuity, no nothing, not even a cup of tea, because I opposed the term limit. But Mpuga was in opposition.
Would you have taken it?
Linda Ko, opposing everything for 2 years and plus, and when he leaves the opposition seat, the reward of 500,000. What does this mean? I want to ask, did Winnie Chisa get a reward? Did Latigo get a reward? This is pure corruption. This is pure buying. And I was so disappointed when I hear some people in Masaka saying, our man, you know what kind of, instead of saying, no, Mpuga, this is corruption, and they have destroyed the party now.
You've seen the benefits that have been given to former presidents, if we have any, vice presidents, where they leave office, the prime minister. There is a whole law on judicial officers, the chief justice, deputy chief justice, and justice of the high court, and on the courts of judicature. There are benefits that come to them, and the question was, why not consider also the leader of opposition on this lineup of people who have...
Me too. You were Chelsea. You see, one of the commentators there said, some of us feel like running into exile. I had just discussed with this Nganda. I told him, you know, I'm really thinking of I should leave this country. Why? Because I'm traumatized emotionally. I want to die. Because when I see people, instead of saying, please, corruption is too much, let me tell you, I had a statement on radio that the government officer employees are not going to get their salaries in time because government has no money.
Government is broke.
I had just had it. And then you tell me the reward to Mpuga. And Mpuga is supposed to be in opposition. And when you're opposition, you are checking government, you are checking corruption, you don't want it, and you go on a committee and you say pass conflict of interest. How can one, no integrity? Let me tell you, these leaders in Uganda, it is not parties. It is not these parties. It is the leaders who want to stay in power, who are greedy for money, who are greedy to stay in power. Those from all leaders out there, because I'm saying all leaders out there, because even in NRM, whatever, who, if they say they are not stealing or what, why don't they talk?
Okay.
What they do, they are all hopeless. They have
message.
destroyed our nation, and our nation is in the hands of God now.
Okay. Ken Mutenyo is watching us and says, the panelists are reading the book of Lamentations, and yet we all know what has been happening. Let them propose solutions. On the Noop saga, it's not about the 500 million. It's about who is in charge of the Noop. The lesson is for politicians not to join what they don't understand. Mpuga would still have been targeted, even for only smiling after he emerged. Having a Noop, having a party leader out of parliament is the cause also. Thirdly, we have a group of politicians who will only be in the party if they are in charge. If not, they will try to destabilize it. By the way, Mpuga has not even got the money yet. Has he received the money or not? He says he said on CBS that he hasn't received the money. He was expecting.
But is he right to get it?
But where I disagree with Honorable Matembe.
On corruption, on what?
No. I am a member of parliament, opposition. I earn a salary, I earn allowances. By your own conclusion, it means that either the opposition must not be paid. Because
Sorry, no. Payment, the rightful payment and allowance and what is not what we are questioning.
Yes.
We are questioning the issue of being both, all of you.
No,
You are
that-
depending, the speaker says, I will give you this money, I will give you, and you know.
I
who you
agree
are.
the issues of, but issues of facilitating opposition to do work are issues of the constitution. I have a problem with the way the reward was arrived at. In fact, if they sought to amend the Administration of Parliament Act and give a retirement package like they have given to the Prime Minister, like they have given to all government officials, I would never have had a problem with it. But I cannot come here and say that the opposition, because you're opposing government, for you should retire with no benefits.
Yeah, on
Because-
the opposition side of government.
Yes,
What
I
are you telling people?
I
Yeah,
have
government, but on the opposition
gratuity.
side.
I also have pension, but I still oppose this government. I only have a problem with the way this was done, but I don't think that the Parliamentary Commission or any other institution, in fact, in Parliament, when they brought the Administration of Judiciary Act, I am the one who proposed that the Chief Justice should retire with his salary. I had traveled and seen a Chief Justice at a bench in Dubai, and it was embarrassing. And they say, no. I mean, these guys are retiring at 70. Give them a decent retirement. So I don't have a problem with the opposition retiring with
but
benefits.
what
I have a problem. I have a problem with the way
With
this
the way it was
particular
done.
one was
a
done.
quick one. You've offered, this has now spilled into and split the, threatening split National Unity Platform. I have read that you have offered to mediate between Mpuga and Chagulanyi.
No, I have not offered, but because you see, we are in this together.
But the party is already.
I don't benefit
But
from.
even, sorry, before you go to mediation, I still also want to disagree with Maria Mateme because everyone finds it convenient to talk about Mpuga. What about Anita? Mpuga's 2.5 years greeting, handshake, is Anita's 1 month salary. Why do you fear her? Everyone is speaking with tongues. This is 1 month entitlement. Someone is earning it in 1 month. So why are you talking about the tree? Why don't we talk about the forest?
But I told you people
And we need to be held.
Let me ask.
Yes.
Let me ask you, Odonga Oto.
I don't see how you disagree.
Can you rationalize something wrong because other people are also doing it?
No, what I'm trying to say, let's not say Mpuga. Let's say Mpuga, Anita, Taebwa, and all the 4 NRM commissioners. Because everyone is now using Mpuga as a punching bag. Mpuga did not buy a Benz of 800 million. You know who bought a Benz of 800 million. You know who bought another second
But we
Benz
are talking
of
about
600
the
million.
parties and how
These
they
are
are
taxpayers' money. It pains. It pains people.
You sat in that parliament. You sat in that parliament for how many terms? 4?
Yes, 4 terms.
It didn't pain you then.
No,
Why does it pain you now?
It
that you
was
are
not
for parliament?
working like this. This
How
is,
was it working?
This is a totally, this is a totally different.
Robbery.
This is. I wish I could take the next flight to Europe. And I told one of the speakers that if you come to Europe, you'll be arrested. This is thuggery.
Yes.
This is robbing, looting of taxpayers' money.
Isn't that itself,
Plutocracy.
Honorable Thor,
Yes.
isn't that a big contradiction that you think the only solution to Uganda's problems is youth jumping onto a flight and running to Europe?
Because what can you do to these people? The IGG, they have removed the tooth. The Auditor General reports to Parliament. The
wants to write
President
something.
is preoccupied in winning the next election.
Or wants to try something, yes or?
I know you have attempted to mute us, but
No, I haven't.
no, by the way you are setting questions. First of all, if you look at what has been exposed so far, do you want to believe wholly in the words of the accusers who said they haven't got money? Do you want to believe it? Yet, you have not done any due diligence to the accusations, to the things being said. For the record, it is now emerging that the meeting that awarded Service Award was, I think, a week after we had buried Jacob Bolanya.
Chaired by the Speaker.
The first meeting of the commission, which gave the Service Award to the commissioners, was a week, I think 25th April, after we had buried Olanya, Jacob Olanya, or thereabout.
Yeah.
This was less than a year. Mpuga had not yet completed 1 year as law. So why was he being given a service award? For having spent less than a year on the job? If he had completed like he has now completed and has done well, logically you would expect, yes, we have now seen you completed your term, you have delivered. Secondly, at the time Lope and the commissions were being, but I want to focus on Lope because his job is to hold the government, to check the government, to hold it accountable. You remember at that time was when his two members of parliament, Segirinya and Alan Sewanyana, were in Masaka prison, were in prison here, Kitalia. Is that what he was being thanked for, rewarded for, when his members are in prison? 3,
is he the one
you remember? You made your point and I kept quiet.
Who chaired the commission meeting? That commission meeting.
You made your point and I listened to you.
No, I'm asking you.
No, wait.
So is he the one who took
I listened to you and I know you're a beneficiary and you don't want us to go there. But that was also the time.
I am a member of parliament of
when NOP was making all the noise that their activists were being rounded up by the government. So was Mpuga receiving this good service award? Because of that, I am simply posing questions so that the people out there know.
No, but who chaired the
no,
meeting?
I'm
who
coming.
chaired the meeting? Who gave the
but
the speaker.
A parliamentary commission is chaired by the speaker.
Precisely.
In the absence of the speaker, it is the deputy.
And it has prime minister, it has all these
yes.
heroes.
So
they are all thieves.
So and this matter was in 2022. So we need to hold Mpuga because he could be telling lies that he has not got the money. The information I have is that when they made this award, government at that time did not have ready cash. They actually went to the parliamentary commission and borrowed from the parliamentary commission.
Actually, the speaker wrote a letter authorizing the parliamentary circle to give the money in advance.
They borrowed from the
so it's a joint thought visa.
Yeah, so it is not true when they're not telling the truth that he is not telling the truth that he has not got the money. And that's why the other commissioners have decided to keep quiet. You have not heard the ones from the NRM, the one from FDC. You have not heard them saying we did not get what we got. They have chosen to take the path of silence in the hope that it is a better way to keep their peace. Let's go there. Now, the issues at hand today is that, yes, Uganda has a little money, but somehow Parliament has a lot of money, which is being spent in a way that is not in line with accounting procedures of government.
Precisely.
Is it normal that staff of Parliament receive money hourly and obscene sums in the name of one person, and then we can challenge and say, okay, if you receive the money for outreach in Tororo, this thing has been going on for 10 days. Can you give us what that outreach, which date it was, in which part of Tororo? If it was in Bukede, can you come out and tell us, we were in this primary school, we are roofing, or we have bought bricks, we are at a ring beam? If it is in Gulu, can you give us when this workshop for local councillors was held? These are basic things that we are asking for. If you say, if as the regulation is saying, that somebody for example, somebody got money. Yes. Listen, somebody got money for 4 days or 30 days in Nairobi, but simultaneously also got money for being in South Sudan, in Juba, for example. Can one person be in two places at the same time? These are the things these are common things that we need to clean up. Yes. Nobody is against leadership of Parliament. But we are questioning.
What happened to the entire government machinery, which has investigative arms? You have multiple agencies against corruption to check this.
But they are corrupt.
No. I'm asking for Opondo.
The institutions are corrupt.
Yes, I'm asking for Opondo.
No.
What happened?
You are the journalist. Now you have abdicated. Is it normal, for example, that all what calls itself the mainstream media in Uganda, this TV, NBS, NTV, UBC, New Vision, Monitor, name all of them, you have close to 100 journalists in Parliament. Is it normal? Can't we put question mark? How come
Has
that none of
IGG
listen? How come that none of them have
not being defensive. IGG, Auditor General, internal. Every investigative agency.
You're not trying to be like Honorable Semujonganda, who says because President Museveni has emasculated everybody, therefore, please don't ask us, as members of parliament, as members of the opposition, why we are not talking about these issues. Yes, at one time, Africa, the whole of Africa and Uganda was under colonial rule, which was very, very draconian. But our forefathers chose to fight it and remove it. And therefore, we should not use escapism to explain away defeatism.
It appears to me, with due respect to Fonopono, it appears to me you're applying the very same thing, escapism. No, that government agencies that profligacy...
You see, I'm done forcing you to this debate. You as a moderator, you are scattered around.
Profligacy in government, corruption in government is not a new subject. Now it arrives in Parliament, and now it's a special thing to be discussed. Why haven't we discussed it the same way in the same terms over all other government agencies?
Well, I'm sure we have had discussion on the different issues of
And what have we done about it?
No, we have had discussion about different incidences of corruption in this country.
Yes.
I am taking you on this particular one.
Yes.
If you want to discuss everything, you can discuss everything.
And I'm asking you,
but I'm telling you, why have you been skirting around on this particular one?
How did we arrive where we have arrived? Because you're dealing with the symptom. Mr. Musisi,
we have arrived
let Musisi come
because we have leadership at many levels of government and the country that are serving self-interest.
Okay.
Charles, the
yes,
biggest
Mr.
issue to
Musisi.
discuss, I think it was Honorable Donga Otoun mentioned it earlier, that what institutions can check Parliament. Because our laws envisage that every institution is accountable as long as you're using any public funds. I don't think in creating the Administration of Parliament Act, which by the way was not in the first Parliament after the 1995 Constitution, Parliament was not self-administering in terms of finances. The intention was to give it some independence, but it wasn't meant to put it, to create a supreme authority which is not self-accountable. If you look at the IGG, remember there was a time when Honorable Kadaga and Justice Muliagonja was IGG then, had a clash. And when the IGG tried to put a parliament to order, I think Honorable Donto in that parliament, Honorable Kadaga said, this one is even our officer. Auditor General reports to Parliament. And as we have seen, the Speaker has a discretion to choose which reports to be discussed, which to be referred, which will be. So at the end of the day, you are creating an authority which is seemingly self-accountable. When it goes to this impugned finances, I've had several explanations. And even the explanations, by the way, do not add up. The statement itself by Honorable Mpoga talked about, didn't justify, give the justification for the 500 million. It instead, just like Honorable Samju tried to do, said, you know, Parliament, they give gratuity, they give honorarium, but all those other benefits are structured and they are known already. And if the discussion was meant to discuss, to agree to terminal benefits for a leader of opposition, like a senior legislator came to NBS here this week and mentioned, you know, leader of opposition is the only office which is not, it doesn't get terminal benefits. Then you amend the law. Then what explains commissioners getting, if you're discussing leader of opposition? What explains having it tied to a person holder? What explains the service award 1 year into the term? So all those are the questions that NUP raised. And some of the problems that we've faced, that we've fallen into the biases, that the whataboutism, that why are you asking, even you are dirty? Because it's not a secret in this town that there are some underhand deals that take place in Parliament. You remember the one where Honorable Sechikubo blew the lead at Mosakot. Money was being exchanged to amend the Constitution. There was the 40 million in this current Parliament, which also one of the members even dragged it to the House, saying that I received this one. The explanations were as varied as we're having now. Some were calling it gratuity, yet it wasn't. So, Honorable Donga...
Honorable Mr. Musisi, my question would be why we discuss this in isolation. You're going back to an incident in 2005?
Yes.
2005 that
I mentioned 2005, and I mentioned even the 40 million is to the
yes,
Parliament.
I think it was Dr. Kagabo or somebody
Yes.
who came up with money into Parliament. You remember there was money that was distributed, I mean, various monies that have been distributed over a period of time.
Yes.
So if you're discussing the question of corruption, abuse of public funds, where do you begin from?
You begin from where you are. You begin from where you are. That is why I'm saying that we've had multiple explanations, and it's being shrouded in politics by someone saying, why is that one asking? Why is that one not getting? We've not had got an explanation, because like I think Oizano mentioned that the setup of the Parliamentary Commission is to be fully representative. That's why we have a Minister of Finance. That's why we have a leader of government business, and that's why we have a leader of opposition. The leader of opposition, some of the problems these people are having, they are saying, this doesn't represent our values, because you're supposed to go there and represent the opposition, act as a check. We have on record the leader of opposition, I think the Honorable Winnie Kiza. They are renewing General Kaihora's contract. She was outnumbered, but she went on record that I didn't vote for renewing. That's the purpose, to act as a check.
She was also being accused of having pocketed 40 million shillings.
Of course, she rebutted the accusations, and the last I heard, they're going to court. And which makes these accusations that have been running around, Charles and Honorable Dongoto are lawyers. You know that if someone makes a fact, says something in your presence, and we don't refute it, it's presumed to be true. So we've had allegations, and this is just all week being thrown around. We've not had an explanation, not from Mr. Mpoga's apologists, not from himself, not from Parliament, by the way, clarifying, justifying why this, why at this time, why tied to him, why other commissioners got. We've not got that clear explanation. Now, the problems, just a second, let me make this point, Charles. Some of the problems NUP is having is that we are also used to compromise. We're also used to compromise. That's why some people are saying, even you received this, why is this one asking? But we all know that you cannot run away from an accusation because the accuser is also dirty.
How does the country move itself out of this? Yes, Honorable Matembe.
For me, I have repeatedly told you that the government of Uganda gets all the time into office through corruption. Corruption is the engine that drives it, that drives this country. You remember I was the first minister for ethics and integrity. And I played that role for 4.5 years. And I used, you said a little thing here. We used with IGG, to message. We used to investigate and find these people who are thieves and make, the big people, you make reports to the president and recommendations. And he would sit on those reports, and he would not take action. And at one time, we even managed to prosecute, and charge and convict. There was a permanent secretary, and another one was what? Officer in that veterinary thing. And then also, Birum Maso, there was a member of parliament by that name, Honorable Birum Maso. We finally put them in prison, and we said, wow, we have caught big fish. And I remember when the donors came and were on the committee, and I told them we've got big fish, and I defended, and then they increased our budget, our contribution to the budget, and the next day, I think it was 2 days, President gave presidential pardon to those three thieves. To those three thieves. And President Museveni, as long as you want him to stay in power, you cannot be corrupt, and whether they catch you or not. But why are we wasting time? The Prime Minister and all these ministers who stole the iron sheets, I came here and I told you, wait, you will tell me whether they will be put in prison or punished. I want the whole world knows now, were they touched? They can't be touched because they're chief mobilizer for votes, like Nabanja, the Prime Minister. The way she mobilizes, you see Museveni losing her with her mobilizing capacity because she stole iron sheets? No. So the government of Museveni, and Bambe, that's why I was saying that he was pocketed and blackmailed, because he loved power so much. He loved power so much, he became, when they, I have forgotten the word, blackmail, like they hijacked. He was hijacked.
Was he? You said for him he can read where he wants to be 50 years from now. How would such a person be hijacked?
In terms of what he loves, because of what he loves, he's hijacked by the sharks. Because that's how it started. Because we who were straight, who didn't want corruption,
you were edged out.
We didn't want corruption, and yet he wanted to stay in power forever. For us, we didn't want. But those who wanted him to stay in power, they now use the money, and he has support them whether you want or not, because they make him stay in power. In Runyankore, in my language, we have a proverb that when ekyokunda ekikunagisa ekyokwitse, that when you love something so much, it makes you drop what you already have to pick the other one.
Let me take a message from James
Assuming
Alemi.
that president came with a desire to develop this nation and take it far, when he desired staying in power forever, when he became greedy to stay in power, he had to become greedy for resources, because it is resources which make him stay in power. So he dropped the whole idea of developing Uganda. He dropped that, and he's running with his sustainability in power.
I always admire Mama Miriam Matembe for speaking her mind whenever she's on TV. She has directly inspired young women like Honorable Liliana Bear to become politicians. However, she must understand that in Africa, revolutionary leaders either die in power, whether they are from CCM or ANC or NRM, or get pushed out,
Then
like
let them
Gaddafi.
die.
James Alemi, Nadine Fora. He says, is getting into emotional outburst mode compared to his usual intelligent discussion that I know.
Which intelligent? He had already seen intelligent discussion there.
There is no Benson Gumisriza from Dambwe in Kamuli Kachiri says, I disagree with OO. How can you expect those questions from a senior 6 student? Most of our MPs are incompetent to be in parliament.
Yes.
And he says there is no opposition in Uganda. Yes. Let me take one more message and then we will take a quick commercial break. Yes. Tembo Misai Kaugu from Bukonzo East in Kasese. I thank Honorable Semuj for always being clear to the point. However, I was expecting him to, as always, to raise a point of procedure and raise these issues of parliament being at the center of the exhibition. I am worried that the House was adjourned sine die as a way of cooling the fire from public at a time when budget processes, the budget process is on. Finally, political parties should be careful with politicians who are always on the move. FDC, stay and sort your party. So should NOP.
By the way, Charles,
yes.
Today I had a rumor. I can talk of a rumor also. Somebody came and told me that they were going to give 50 million to each member of parliament.
Some received. Some received.
It is true.
Yes.
You can imagine.
I have evidence, eh? Is
And
it a
you
rumor
know,
or is it?
Somebody who told me, by the way, was from State House.
I love the truth Honorable Matembe tells. I wish all Ugandans were open like her. Personally, I see President Museveni has a good vision for Uganda and Africa by the people he works with. By finishing the opposition, President Museveni must have seen the weaknesses of many attacking one technique. They forget that they are not grounded like President Museveni, not NRM. Murungi, Patrick, your message is not very clear, but thank you very much. Let's take a break and we'll pick this conversation up in a moment.
So they've already received them.
NBS Frontline.
My bossy, can I borrow fuel
some Kaloni. Okay, what about 5K?
When you need a loan, you've got MTN Momo. Wesotinge. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
Where luxury meets tranquility.
Toswa akazanyo kebaita no time.
Wateka koti ya metro. Nze nanonya mikwano ejange. Wabukole. Koti nawe. Lisa, meet your metro. Lisa. Gogo wagira Lisa anyime obapege boy.
Obulimba.
Nengamba kanze Uganda. Bata, wempisa zo. Kobuza tayo anga. Gendo birema wale todda wano. Nziza kufumba nawe. Ndakafumba. Ndakafumba.
No time.
In the heart of Arua City is an oasis of class and comfort. Welcome to Hotel Le Confidential, Aruba's hidden gem and a hub of world-class service. Hotel Le Confidential is a boutique hotel like no other. Voted Uganda's best new hotel at the Ikuka Awards 2022. Our amazing rooms come with air conditioning for internet and breakfast. Take a dip in our outdoor pool, relax at the spa, enjoy a tasty bite from our wide array of delicacies, or simply spend an incredible evening here just to wake up to the gorgeous green of Aruba and so much more. We are open 24 hours to serve you. Hotel La Confidential, a place of serenity, peace, and love.
Exciting news for news lovers. The Now Post, your reliable source of swift and accurate news, has introduced its all-new mobile-friendly experience. We have upgraded your mobile news experience, giving you a slick, user-friendly interface, making it easier than ever to stay informed. Embark on a new era of news exploration with Now Post, scrolling through with ease because it's seamless and lighter. Now Post, accurate news, fast.
NBS Frontline.
Welcome back to the Frontline on NBS TV, hot on and off the air. And Honorable Semuju, you're quiet throughout the last segment. These things have come back to you in Parliament.
Of course, when you are in Parliament,
yes,
and so much has been published about Parliament, you have every reason to feel bad about it.
You just feel bad about it?
Because you see, every MP, and it doesn't matter who the speaker is, you are part of that institution. But let me make 2 points. And I have said that the public has every reason to be angry about MPs and all of us. But we should also not lose the context under which this is happening. And I want to deal with both. I have told you, I have never seen Ofono Opondo enthusiastic as he is in this matter. And I hope really that his enthusiasm will now spread to everywhere. Because every leakage about the speaker, including, because me I go to sleep early, except when I am here, Ofono Opondo is calling me, have you seen this one? And he's put on every WhatsApp group where I am with Ofono Opondo. So that's why I said, maybe there are other things that are happening. Maybe a speaker is about to be removed. I have never, I mean, we've said many things that are happening in this country, abuse of power by Museveni, by his family. And Ofono Opondo is not this enthusiastic to deal with it. But when it came to the speaker, maybe there is something between them. And I'm not saying what has happened in Parliament is okay. And I have said, so let me repeat, I think there should be some introspection about what has happened in Parliament. In fact, my earlier proposal was that allowances and facilitation of Parliament maybe the one of the next Parliament will need to be determined by this Parliament, so that you deal with the issue of the conflict of interest. But otherwise, the way the Constitution was made, that MPs, you will sit and determine your own facilitation, it takes a lot of courage for people not to misbehave. Because they have given you with both hands that you sit there and determine your own emoluments. I'm not sure that the remuneration and salaries board that people are proposing will be able to deal with it. Because in Kenya, when the MPs wanted to retire with big packages in a bill, Ruto refused to assent to it. I mean, Uhuru Kenyatta refused to assent to it. But here, the environment under which we work, Mr. Museveni wants to turn Parliament into
but the bigger question is, how can all people at different points become so complicit? And I've seen discussion on social media platforms. People saying, why are Ugandans not able to create the link between, for example, what has been happening in Kampala, all these potholes, the absence of service delivery, be it medical facilities, education, road infrastructure, water, everything else, to create a link and say, look, if there is so much, it's actually beyond profligacy happening in government institutions. And you put it well. You said, all the panelists here have said it, not just in Parliament, but across government. Why, when do you create that link, and why are people complicit?
But me, sorry, Charles, I want to help me. Charles, I want you to be honest. You live in this country. You live in this country. When, because of military, because of resources that have made the president so powerful, and he's now equal to Uganda. He's the Uganda, he has everything, and unless you agree with him, you are done. Everybody is so scared. There is we wrote a constitution where we say that people should demonstrate and that kind of thing. Civil societies were shut down in terms of resources because they stopped those who were funding them, and in terms of you don't go out, you will see anybody who tries to demonstrate. The other day, I saw this, the policeman, what is he called? He was justifying that there was a small demonstration, I think, about salaries, and one man was killed and others were injured, and I saw him saying on the TV that, you see, don't think you can just go out and demonstrate because you should write to police. Let me tell you.
There was a demonstration in Kagadi, and a demonstrator was run over by a car.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yes,
about bad roads. Let me tell you, when you write police to ask for, even if it is a peaceful sit-down demonstration, you cannot get it.
Yes,
but someone now, how do you want Ugandans?
Someone called that reading from the Book of Lamentations.
Shut up. Those people who are talking.
No, they are talking about.
Why don't they come out and talk like we are talking?
What should they do?
Let me ask you. Here I am with my courage, and I talk, and I go home, no security, no nothing, because I love this country, and I don't fear these people. I'm a different person. I fear God only. But many Ugandans, the majority of them, the fear has gripped them so much.
Let's have someone to conclude.
So don't ask them that why should they keep quiet. That's what they become.
Yes.
We've been walked to this point slowly.
Yes.
The members of Parliament, I remember when we had a quarrel over the 20 million during COVID. The thinking was that, and I remember Fonopono teasing me, that those of us, because that time I had said, no, this money will take, and he said, okay, we will see.
And you
took? The majority of course, we are made to return it. Majority of MPs, I think Dr. Besigye who said, you buy your way into Parliament.
Yes.
So the public that you want to demonstrate, is also a beneficiary of what the MPs get from Parliament. You just need to go and visit one MP and you see what will happen there. So Mr. Museveni has slowly walked us there. So the MPs will come to Parliament.
And the whole 45 million of us have accepted to be headed there.
They have bowed. They have bowed.
And we are not thinking about how to get out of that situation.
Today, Charles, tell me frankly, what, with the exception of a few constituencies, like maybe the one I represent, what is the definition of good MP to many Ugandans? Is it one who speaks in Parliament or one who is funding social events?
I don't know. I drove through your constituency today, and the amount of potholes there is a special one. And I'm wondering
how is
why
that related?
Why wouldn't you mobilize your constituents to create that link between what is happening on the other side and what is happening in the terms of service delivery?
See, people who come to my home, and I've said this before, most of the guests that I receive are not guests that are going to ask me about bills in Parliament and my work in Parliament. They are guests who are coming for school fees. They are guests who are coming, and for me, because I represent a constituency whose level of civic competence is fairly high. But in other constituencies, it's a problem. So the public that you want to demonstrate is the same public.
No, I'm just wondering, how do we get out of this? And let me put it to
you are not going to get out of it.
How do you get out of this situation?
Until Museveni has gone, you're not going to get out.
How does Museveni go?
You see, President Museveni is going. It's just a matter of time.
Yes.
Yeah. So
but they are ready to receive his son. These are Ugandans.
Hold on, because it's easy to blame President Museveni, but this is our country.
Yes.
President Museveni is just one individual. We have to think a way out of it. Now, in the last Parliament, there was a scandal in Bank of Uganda where people went and printed government of Uganda money.
And they brought extra bags.
And they brought the money into Uganda. They beat the system. So when they wanted Parliament to investigate, Rebecca Kadaga, in her own wisdom, said this matter is so big to be investigated by Parliament. And she said it is better they use chieftaincy of military intelligence to investigate. Now, you go and look at you can Google now.
What happened?
Go and look at the report. Who are those implicated? Who are those implicated in bringing currency into the country?
We don't know.
These are the same actors. The Commission of Inquiry, the President instituted a committee headed by Nachobe. Up to now, they cannot bring any report because these are the people with billions.
But you said
there's
look at the report.
You said there is a report.
No, just Google now. Google now how far the BOU investigation is concerned.
Yes.
So how does it relate to this?
No, why don't you share that with our viewers? Because not everybody is going to go on Google.
No.
You have an audience?
Yes.
Yes.
He's fearing
what did they say?
No, I'm not fearing. Okay, in the investigation, who was being investigated? The brother of the Speaker of Parliament.
Was there
who was in charge of currency at BOU?
Was there an
Ask yourself. Yes, I know what I'm talking about.
Was there an investigation?
So you've asked it, so let me now tell it.
Yes.
Ask yourself why 50,000 shillings is more in circulation, more than any denomination. Because the money entered in the country legally. So when you see some people with so much money and no one can do anything, Semujo has not been unequivocal on Parliament today. He's talking like his spirit has been removed. So the whole of that institution of Parliament has been compromised.
That is true.
With money, and this is not small money. This is not small money. These are individuals who are as powerful, they almost have probably 15% of the GDP of Uganda. So what should be done? If President Museveni is a real general, this Parliament should be dissolved. It is serving no purpose. It is looting Ugandans.
Does he need the purpose?
Can you imagine, for the first time in 20 years, Maria Matemba was in Parliament with you.
Yes.
Those days, Okule Park, Omara Tubo.
Yes.
We would borrow money, and we would borrow money from the World Bank, IMF, and we have a grace period of 4 years before paying. Interest rate is at 3%. This Parliament where Semuju sits, they borrowed 1 trillion shillings from a commercial bank at 8%.
So Parliament borrows money or don't go to? Is that
no, they authorize government to borrow.
So why are you saying
at
Parliament
8%, and the repayment begins this very year. So we don't have a Parliament. I can bet we
don't
don't.
have a government.
Did we have a parliament when you sat there?
There was a little bit of sanity.
You know that.
I want to understand.
Yeah.
So, Odongo wants parliament to dissolve, so you are comfortable with Museveni?
No, that's not
So
the
you
issue
want,
because
you want Museveni to dissolve parliament and it stays.
yesterday, this
So
parliament
that's what
here,
you are suggesting.
no, what I'm saying, the category of MPs, close to 95% are transactional leaders. They do a deal and they share the loot, the whole institution. At least for Semuju, I cannot mention his name. He's fair and thorough in my eyes.
So you want
because how do you explain this? A whole leader of opposition sitting in a meeting where they are approving releasing of money to them. Now I know why they don't want Zake in the parliamentary commission.
So
because Zake would be like the president of Pyongyang of North Korea. So this problem of parliament.
The meeting was a few weeks.
My concern, Odongo Oto.
I want to understand Odongo
We don't
Oto.
have a parliament.
So you have a
we
problem
don't
with the
have a
parliament, you don't
government.
have a problem with Museveni, you don't have a
He
problem
does.
with the government. So for you, the problem is summarized as parliament.
No, listen. Parliament is the institution that gives money. Parliament is the institution that citizens of Uganda participates to represent people. Now, when Parliament has turned into a monster, they have turned into dealers. They have turned into transactional leaders. Why should we have that Parliament?
My only question for Odongo Oto is,
Yes.
Musisi gave you an incident, 2005, Parliament involved, Mosaport Apartments. There are incidents 2011, incidents throughout.
Even the COVID cash, the 20
COVID
million.
cash.
Yes, I was given.
You are still in Parliament.
I refunded mine at
Yes.
Centenary Bank.
Yes. And I'm wondering why you're focusing now, Parliament should be dissolved now. You never called for its dissolution before.
You see.
And I've been asking the question, have we just arrived at this? Semuju says we walked.
It has been
this
a
journey.
No. Semuju, let me just conclude this.
Yes.
You remember when they gave us money, I don't remember for which consultation. When we are returning for you, said the people in Acholi are poor. That
No,
they
for me,
should
I
give
returned
it to
money
you and
in
you take
Centenary
it.
Bank, and I have the deposit slip in my file.
Which money did you return?
The 29 million.
Yes.
But let me develop this point.
And for you said,
No.
for us, we should give
Now
it to
my-
you and take it to people
no.
from Northern Uganda who are poor.
Don't mix facts.
Yes.
Now, my issue is the Parliament is not neat. You have someone with leprosy selling meat to Ugandans. We have lepers at the head of that institution. They are flamboyant. They are in the showbiz industries. They have amassed millions of dollars in a very short period of time. Olanya Jacob built his house, that palace. For 10 years, he did not finish. People have put up 2-3 mansions in a space of 3 years. Now, that parliament is not tidy. That's why I even don't want to go back there. It is not tidy. You see, these days, Fondo. But if someone serves you food in a glass plate in a restaurant, we don't focus on the glass plate. We look at the feet. The appetite comes whether the person serving food is neat. So the whole parliament is dirty. The whole parliament is very messy.
All the leaders,
and whether
political leaders,
the
we
civil
just
servants
say
are not being
parliament.
paid salary,
The
the
government-
teachers are suffering, people are in the streets,
Let me have
people
George.
have nothing to do.
Let me have George and
Useless parliament.
because our
And
time is running out.
government, but why
So
do
for you,
have
Museveni is
government
okay, and the
alone?
government, it is only parliament that
George,
is useless.
For Museveni, we have failed to remove him. We are just waiting for natural forces to come on board, which is soon.
Let me have George. Let me have George and I have only 2 minutes.
At the hearing of the
George, I have only 2 minutes.
constitutional
I'm
petition
glad
in
I
Bali
found my colleague here.
against challenging, against the last amendment of age limit. Remember, there was an opposition. The opposition had decided to refund I think it was 10 million, which was given for 20.
Yes.
And then there was an opposition member of parliament who was quizzed by Justice Kakuru because she brought a check as evidence that I refunded. And then the judge said, why don't you bring a statement to show that the money was deducted? But the bigger point that we need to draw the dysfunctionality. It's wrong to think that we can have an oasis of peace or in a sea of broken institutions. Parliament is just part. All this dysfunctionality we see on roads, we see in hospitals, we see in schools. It all goes back to the governance and leadership issue that we're grappling with in the country. And someone was saying that we're reading from Lamentations. No one has a divine duty to change. We start from where you are, each person, because at the end of the day, like we've seen, sometimes even the leaders, at some point, the struggle ends at that seat, getting that seat and maintaining it.
Okay. You have the last word.
Well, the people who are schooled in the Bible, I'm sure.
Don't quote the Bible.
Revelation comes after lamentation. What? Revelation comes after lamentation. The book of Revelation comes after lamentation. So it is okay
to lament.
We shall reach revelation.
So you have the
as long as we stay focused. And that ties with your question, where are we talking now? Maybe, like Semuju says, we had been seeing things small, becomes big, and now it is bigger, or getting biggest. So we are making a little more noise. I hope we can sustain making the noise, but also with the concrete actions. Then the Honorable Semuju has tried to make it appear as if I have an issue with my sister. And no, you made your point,
yes.
The person. First of all, let me say on record that Anita and I are friends. There's nothing personal, Fono and Anita. However, I raised these matters with Semuju in the last 10 days. Why? Because Semuju has been the one standing on the tables of parliament, jumping. When these kind of things happen elsewhere in State House and so on, the corridors of the presidency, Semuju would be giving a point of order, point of procedure, jumping on the tables all the time in parliament. And I keep teasing him. I sent to him and our platform because I tease him and say, Semuju. Now there is a trove. Today there is a trove which says that 675 million was sent on Santos' account. Have you seen it? I am pushing him. I want to see Semuju jumping on the table of parliament.
Thank you.
Because he has been as silent as a tombstone.
Okay, thank you. And our time is out. Someone is saying, a viewer here is saying that now finally Odonga Oto agrees. He has been defending Mpuga all over the place. Now he says it was a mistake to remove Zake. So now finally you have agreed.
Let him carry his cross. Mpuga was lured into that trap. Now
another viewer here says, this is in response to one contributor who has submitted that in Africa all revolutionary leaders die in power. President Sam Nujoma retired voluntarily. President Mandela voluntarily left power after only one term. President Chisano of Mozambique respected the constitution and retired after 2 terms. Even President Julius Nyerere left power. Those were great revolutionaries. President Museveni can take a leaf from those fellow revolutionaries. That's Solomon Webala Rale.
He meant fake revolutionaries.
Our time is out. We need to get out of here. President Museveni went with very few people and changed people's thinking, and he's now in power. Why can't the many MPs, if they mean the change, mobilize and cause the change they wish? Someone is asking that. No, he says Museveni went and mobilized a few people and was able to cause change. Why can't someone else lead that revolution
529 heads.
Why doesn't he do it himself? That one who is right.
That one is not complaining. He's talking about those who are complaining.
So what is he quiet? What is he doing?
He's complaining. For him, he's not complaining. He says those who are complaining. Someone says, Henry Ford said, if money is your only hope for independence, you will never have it. Yeah. The only real security that man can have in this world is a reserve of knowledge, experience, and ability. Therefore, Mpuga should not be seen as a base of corruption because of that money when a lot is being swindled behind his back. Christine from Fort Portal. I think these are the only messages I'm able to take this evening. Let me just take last one from Harold Achema. He's in Arua. If Jacob Olanya, rest in peace, was Speaker, Parliament would never have degenerated into a den of thieves, conmen, conwomen, fraudsters, and shameless liars, as appears to be happening. Nobody in his right mind should defend the indefensible. Parliament is accountable to the citizens of Uganda and taxpayers of Uganda. Uganda and Ugandans deserve a lot better. Harold Achema. Our time is out. We need to get out of here. Thank you very much to the panelists. Mr. George Musisi, Ofono Pondo, Odonga Oto.
The final word.
No, we have overshot our time, I'm afraid. The Honorable Miriam Matembe.
Women's Day.
Eh?
Today is International Women's Day.
Yes.
And we're having the national celebration in the Katakwi district.
Okay. Yes. International Women's Day.
Yes.
I don't know what we have to tell the women who are gathering for the celebration.
No, I saw today some newspapers did good pull-outs.
Yes.
To highlight women who have made achievements.
Who is the guest of honor?
And giving encouragement.
Thank you very much. And
we have the only gentleman in the country.
Who?
Indeed, we join. We join in the celebration and commemoration of International Women's Day, which is happening, the national celebration or commemoration happening in Katakwi district. We celebrate all the women of this country, and on this show we have to celebrate the Honorable Miriam Matembe, who's guest on this very special. It should be highly celebrated.
You know that of all the awards they give, with the what are they called, medals or what?
Yes.
Do you know that the government of Uganda has never
given you an award?
Nothing, and yet at the forefront, Matembe is there running.
We also celebrate the young men and women whose results for USCE were released today, and those who performed well. It's a particular young man called Calvin who performed very well. Congratulations to many children all over the country. And lastly, last but not because I know him. That's the special thing. And last but not least, congratulations to Joe Walker for making the 300-kilometer walk for road safety from Kampala to Fort Portal. From me, it's a good morning.
NBS Frontline. NBS. Always. Up next. This program is rated PG. Parental guidance is advised.
Shona sholoza, shona sholozi, nangena sholoza. Big Nash, bobele yo, ngoni na sholoza, mazima loze no. Bobele yo, ngoni na sholoza, mazima loze no. Sholoza, hey sholoza, nangena sholoza. I tell you, yononoza, yeah, netelo kura emireme, nempunga, nenosolera, la shine changwe chibisi, sweet chibulango chasimu kwano kono nkuta, naza wachiri, bele. Ngoni na sholoza, mazima loze no. Loze no. Obele yo. Ngoni na sholoza, mazima loze no. Baby, sweetie wanzi samanteko. Muli remba muchiyungwa mazigentamu. Kulaba molyamo. Kulaba molyamo. Nafumbele monde nakawo. Natate bilongo sweet yakawo checho. Now I make my testimony. Sweetie uncle biteko, this alimony.